I found out my 31 male, ex-wife, 27 female, cheated on me while she was pregnant. Last year, while she was 6 months pregnant, I 31 male discovered that my now ex-wife, 27 female, had been cheating on me. The affairs occurred both before and after the pregnancy. She had reasons and excuses for not getting a divorce. She wanted to be together and have couples counseling. I advised her to go ahead and receive treatment, but infidelity was a deal-breaker for me, so we divorced. She moved back in with her parents, who had ample space to build up a nursery, and gave my ex the guest room since the home was mine when we married. My wife has our daughter Sunday, Wednesday, and the original plan was for her to drop her off at daycare on Wednesday morning, and my nanny would pick her up around noon and bring her back to my house, where my daughter would stay with me until Saturday night or Sunday morning, depending on what worked best for everyone. Then my ex stated she feared the daycare was misplacing some of the items she was bringing in for her to bring to my house, since our daughter had come home a few times without certain bottles or her binky. So ex stated she wanted to drop our kid off at our home straight to ensure that all of her belongings arrived at my place. So she began bringing her up from daycare and dropped her off here during her breaks. On Wednesdays and Fridays, I work from home. Nevertheless, I'm working. It was usually about 12:30 when ex started dropping Nadine down at my place. Since I was in my office working, my daughter's nanny, lovely elderly woman from Barbados, not sure of her age but I'd estimate late 50s, 60s, was the one to open the door for my ex and remove my daughter and her belongings. When she arrived, ex said that she wanted to meet with me personally. She felt like she was dumping a lot on the nanny and didn't want her to forget to tell me anything, she said. I'd be lying if I claimed I didn't have animosity and hate against my ex. But I don't want my daughter to see that. So when I speak to my ex, I try to be as emotionally equal as possible, just talking about topics that are relevant to my daughter and nothing else. After today's drop-off, Nadine's nanny carried her upstairs to change her diaper, which she did herself. When my ex inquired as to how I was doing, I said that I was fine and thanked her before returning to my workplace. She sees herself out. She used to live there. You know what? I'm starting to get very tired of your foolishness, she exclaims as I walk away. After asking her what she was talking about, she erupted in rage, claiming that I was emotionally manipulating her by being cold and distant, that she shouldn't be punished forever for her crimes, and that hating her was the same as hating my child. I waited until she had finished her raving before instructing her to go. I feel that the best course of action for me is to avoid any more engagement with her and to cease seeing her for drop-offs at the school. Nevertheless, I was expecting to get any additional perspectives or opinions on the matter from you if you happen to have any. After realizing that wife had cheated, I decided to have a paternity test done, and the results showed that my child was really mine. Update. In the first place, I'd want to convey my appreciation to everyone who has taken the time to offer their support, sympathies, and advice. Despite the fact that I didn't have time to respond to all of the comments, I did read and appreciate each and every one of them. It was suggested that you read the following article. It was suggested to me that I check out a website called Talking Parents, which I believe will be a helpful resource for both my ex-wife and myself. The one thing I have to remind myself on a regular basis is that the unpleasant and betrayed feelings I have for my ex-wife would most likely fade in 5 or 10 years, but that a hostile relationship between the two of us would have a long-term impact on our daughter. As a consequence, I sat down with my ex-wife and recorded a conversation about our current situation. I spoke with her in an open and honest manner. Even though I still had negative feelings against her as my ex-wife, I assured her that I would always treat her with civility and courtesy as the mother of my child, but that we needed to establish boundaries. It was my pleasure to notify her that we would be returning to our original plan of dropping her off at daycare in the mornings and having my nanny pick her up in the afternoons. By using the internet, we'll communicate which things should be transported home with her so that the nanny may double-check that she has everything she needs. My ex-wife isn't happy. I believe she came to my house in the hopes of reconciling, but I told her gently, but unequivocally, that it was never going to happen. However, I would like to see our relationship blossom as fantastic co-parents of a lovely young girl, and perhaps even as friends, one day in the future. Please accept my heartfelt thanks once again for taking the time to react to my message. This group has been a tremendous resource for me, and I wish you all a pleasant evening in return. Story 2. I, 28F, caught my boyfriend 40 male, with a long-term girlfriend 31 female. I've been seeing my current boyfriend for around 6 months, and we moved in together quite quickly. As a result of our busy schedules and work, we don't always have the opportunity to visit one another, but we make an attempt. We talk on the phone every day, despite the fact that he can't see me in person. He'll FaceTime me while he's out with his buddies, and then we'll all get together and have a drink. He'll sometimes offer me $10 to spend on lunch as a gesture of goodwill. He addresses me as Mrs. his last name, and we've even discussed the possibility of moving in together. In any case, we've always maintained an exclusive and monogamous relationship. Something, though, didn't feel quite right. Somehow, I had a gut sensation that something was wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Everything seemed to be in working condition. Spoiler alert, that seems to be the case for the vast majority of abusers and frauds. Perhaps it was when we were talking on FaceTime a few months ago and were scrolling through his Facebook page together, making fun of some of his old pictures. I came upon a picture of him and what I supposed to be his ex-girlfriend, and I was intrigued. I'm not very self-conscious, so the fact that an old picture of them was still available on the internet didn't worry me. However, it was his remark that took me completely by surprise. "What if we were still together?" says the author. "This is embarrassing. I need to delete my account," he stated, and he did so immediately thereafter. Alternatively, it may have been when he was on vacation for a family emergency, which happened to coincide with his birthday, and his iMessage stopped working properly. Looking back, I knew he blocked me because of this chick, and I was right. But isn't it odd that this happens? Whatever the situation may have been, I sought to reject it on the grounds that, well, maybe the divorce was still a sensitive subject for him. He acknowledged to me that he had been in a relationship with her on and off for many years. However, it did not correspond to what he had indicated before we began dating. During that time, he had informed me that it had just been a year, and that there wasn't anything really major going on. And it's possible that his iMessage stopped working throughout that trip. Even though I continued to give him the benefit of the doubt, I kept note of similar tiny inaccuracies like this throughout our relationship, just in case he did it again. There are a plethora of them. I couldn't tolerate the gut feeling any longer, so I gave in last night and messaged a close friend to request that this ex be added as a follower on Instagram, which he approved. By the time this morning came around, she'd come to terms with it. In the process of searching for photographs of them together throughout the years, and while we were together, we uncovered hundreds, and I mean hundreds, of images of them together. The instincts of a woman are not to be trifled with. What should I do if I find myself in this situation? I've never been in a scenario like this before, and I have a strong suspicion that she is aware of my presence, since I was unaware of her presence. This gentleman was involved in 2 full-fledged relationships behind both of our backs, and there were maybe others before me. As far as I'm aware, I've been exposed to gaslighting as well as more than likely a range of other sorts of abuse. However, she seems to have gotten the worst of it since she appears to be madly in love with him and has been for years. This is something I want her to understand since he did this to us behind our backs while being sympathetic to her feelings. I have a plethora of proof, which includes messages, images, films, and several other types of information. My boyfriend is completely oblivious of the fact that I am aware of this,